Welcome back to yet another episode here. I got a really, really cool one lined up here. We've been kind of jamming back and forth on about 1,001 different topics and directions to go. And I'd love to spend 22 hours and just get into all of it, but that's probably not going to happen today. We got David from DeFi Trader. Your YouTube channel is awesome. You cover a wide range of topics. And today I'm really excited to get into more of the Bitcoin ET or Bitcoin and ETH sort of, I guess, overall crypto narrative over the next maybe year or two, and double down on these airdrops and just how can you, I like thinking about it like, how do you turn a little into a lot? Like, how can you start with a little bit and find creative ways to, a lot of people think you need money to make money, even buying businesses. It's like, how can you do creative financing? And like, you don't need millions of dollars. So I'm excited to talk about all that stuff with you today.
Definitely. Yeah. There's tons of things to talk about. Airdrop farming, I think, is the biggest topic that we've been seeing really blow up over the past, I'd say, year or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really gotten mainstream, I think, at this point.
Why do you think it's going? And just so the audience knows too, David is joining us today and he's got a migraine headache. So I do respect still. We're just gonna jam on it no matter what here. I'm also the dude who will just always power through everything and then rest and recover. But I do appreciate that and thank you for being here. I mean that.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't want to just cancel on you last minute there. So I said, screw it, let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, hopefully we'll ask you some awesome questions that get the passion fired up, and hopefully we can let the headache we can forget about it for a moment. Why do you think these airdrops are fitting this narrative or just taking off so much? Like, what is it about these airdrops that seem to be a win-win-win for everyone?
Definitely. There's mostly a lot of talk now because I think it's getting to a point where people are really figuring out that this is one of the best risk to rewards that there is out there in crypto. This is something that people need to understand is going to be part of crypto, I think, going forward long term, because it's such at the heart of the marketing campaigns that are being done. And in crypto, the best way to get in attention is to literally just give money to people. And that's what's going on with airdrops. They're literally just giving money to people for them to get their attention, and also capital at the end of it as well, because they need to draw attention. They need to draw transactions, need to draw TVL. So all of this is a means to end to do all of this. So they need to have airdrops, and now they're using points. It's evolved to like this mechanism with a point system, with leaderboards, with invites. So you're creating this network effect through what we've typically known in marketing campaigns, referrals, where having affiliate marketing really pays off. If you don't have an affiliate marketing, I would say like go to market strategy with whatever product or service you have, I would say you're not really starting at the best footing there. You want to start or just have in place this sort of affiliate or referral program, and this will create a lot of your marketing for you. You have a sort of like grassroots marketing campaign that you are integrating with your product or service, and that's what we've seen a lot of these DeFi protocols do, and just a lot of crypto projects in general start to adopt this and really take a lesson from traditional marketing campaigns.
So good. Yeah. It's almost like a mix of affiliate and influencer, yet word of mouth, yet incentivize. It's like a big mix of all of it. And I think it works so well for the crypto DeFi space because it's so community focused. So you find these, it's almost like each community, if you track a pair, and I'm not talking huge market caps, but it looks like a lot of assets will sometimes have a sort of culture and life of their own. And when you dive into the community, if you're maybe someone who's looking to invest in things, and you're not trading, or maybe you are trading, but it's like every community almost has their own kind of ecosystem built and their own sort of influencers, their own people who are leading it for better or worse. And I think that's super fascinating with how fast a project can spread the word on what it is they're doing through these, creative marketing. It's not even creative, but new to crypto marketing.
Yeah, they're using this, and I think you're leveraging it, and there's a lot of potential with this. What we've seen with Blast is an L2 that really isn't even live yet. It's just a multi-sig as far as we know right now, but it has attracted more TVL more attention than Base, which is
Right.
the layer two that Coinbase has deployed. And
Yeah.
they have a huge reputation behind them. And I think that a lot of people trust Coinbase. And for this other L2 that is brand new, that does have somewhat of a track record, but not with L2s or not to the same degree, was able to attract, I think at this point, it's double the TVL of Coinbase's L2.
Wow.
I think
I did not
that
know that.
means a that's a big deal. And they did this through this sort of airdrop and uh, referral program campaign. So I think that this is definitely proven itself, and people are taking notice of this. The projects that are building, the founders that are out there, they're definitely taking notice of these things, and they're formulating their go-to-market strategy to incorporate these dynamics that are proving so effective in the market that we're seeing. They're
Yep.
not going to just do these things because it's not working. They're doing these things more and more and gravitating to this point system that I see because it's very effective.
Yep.
And there's really a win-win synergies here. And for one, I would say, like, let's break it up to a couple of different demographics. We have the user, like people like you and me. We have the founders. We have the investors. So all of these people are working together to create the most valuable thing possible. And those people that supported the project in the beginning, which are the airdrop farmers, people like you and me, what we're doing now, we're being rewarded, but we're also rewarding them because we're increasing their total value. We're increasing their transactions on their project. We're increasing the attention and word of mouth that we're having with the project. That's going to increase the valuation of the project, which in turn increases the investment of the VCs or the backers. And so everybody's winning as long as this flywheel is kickstarted in some degree. And if it ends up launching a token and this actually happens with what I said here, everybody really comes
Yeah.
out winning out of this.
Yeah. It's kind of like taking the idea of, giving The Rock $10 million to promote a product, and one person wins up top, Rock, and maybe a few of the company, and everyone else kind of is the consumer and gets to kind of be a fan, but you don't really get anything in return other than maybe the product that you consume and it's done, versus everybody winning. And talk us a little bit about the risk reward, because I freaking love the concept and I don't think enough people think about it. When it comes to airdrops, a lot of people will think risk reward in terms of a trade, like, hey, I want more reward than risk, and what's my risk reward ratio, blah blah blah. But talk about a little bit of the risk reward when it comes to how do you take on bare minimum risk for potential massive upside in this stuff.
I would say a great way. A lot of these projects, they have referral systems. And if you're able to either do referral systems or just making like very minimal investments where you have just a handful of dollars sometimes, I would say like $100, you could use this capital and it could be worth, hundreds of times that. We saw with the Jito airdrop that just happened a couple of months ago. And this was literally just maybe $50, $100 worth of tokens, and it paid off in the five figures. So this happens, throughout the year many times. So you just have to be positioned in the right things, and eventually it will pay off. But I would say that this is, entirely within the realm of possibilities. It happens throughout the year, and we're going to see many more times this happening in 2024. It's so easy to do. You just do a couple transactions, you buy a couple tokens. Even with Celestia, you could have staked that and you would have gotten the dime airdrop, which is worth, I'd say, at least a couple $1,000 as far as I know. The token's not live yet, so we don't know for sure, but we're estimating that it should be worth a couple thousand if you just staked one Celestia token. And we're seeing this more and more play out. We just saw another one. Can't remember the name of it right now, but there's going to be more and more of these tokens being rewarded to people that either do a couple transactions on the project or stake a token. that is going to be a sort of like a reward for anybody staking that token. We see that especially in the Cosmos ecosystem. You could stake maybe just one, one or two tokens and qualify for $1,000 airdrop or more, many thousands of dollars, I would say.
Yeah. So yeah, what is it? I was talking to a trader and they were like, oh yeah, we turned $10,000 into $1 million, and it was just a series of trades, and it was like pretty easy for them. They know what they're looking at. They've been doing it forever. Someone listening who's like, I want to get in on this. You mentioned the word positioning, which is a great word. How do you position yourself to be able to be eligible for all these airdrops? When if you go on ICO drops, which is kind of where most people start, there's you could spend 100 hours trying to get eligible for each airdrop. How would you weigh which opportunity is worth pursuing and which isn't?
Yeah, there's definitely a way to go about strategizing what you're going to prioritize as far as where you're spending your attention, where you're going to be allocating whatever little capital you have to that. I would definitely say, if you know somebody in the space, make sure you follow them. Like you, I'm sure you're probably familiar with a lot of these airdrops. So, anybody listening to this video or watching this, this is a good starting point. Definitely Twitter. Twitter is going to be probably the best source and earliest source of information. Whenever a project releases information, Twitter is going to be probably the first place that they'll post it publicly, and maybe they'll do so preemptively in their Discord, but you probably would have had to known about them already to be in the Discord to get that information to begin with. So I would say definitely Twitter, be extremely active on Twitter. Follow, people like you on Twitter, where I'm sure you're posting different things of what you're looking at and things that you're finding interesting.
And there's a lot of people there's a lot of really good people you can follow on Twitter. You can find your own style of person you want to listen to, but I see a lot of noise on Twitter, a lot of crap, but if you can filter through
that's
it.
Also good point.
Yeah,
you have to be careful of who you're following on Twitter as well. A lot of these are shills, so really they don't really do the airdrop farming. They're just putting that information out there because they're being paid for it.
That's right.
So that's something you have to take in consideration. I would definitely follow somebody that that is actually doing this, that has a track record of showing their results and previous airdrops that they've landed before. Just can't really take somebody's word off of it and just following them because they're posting a thread on Twitter. Look a little bit deeper into that and make sure they're credible first. Then, definitely take a deeper look into what they're sharing and see if it makes sense for you.
Yeah,
I would say that some of the most undervalued ones right now, I think it's coming to the deadline right now, is Manta. That was very under the radar until December, I would say. Like, it was probably towards the end of December, it really started getting a lot more attention. But before that, it was very under the radar. That was probably one of the best risk to reward opportunities there. There was a lot of strategies that you could have done to maximize the airdrop through kind of like looping your capital, where you're rehypothecating your capital in a sense.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different strategies that I would implement as far as like, once you've actually identified an airdrop, how do you actually like maximize your payout at the end of the day? Like, what are you doing to effectively farm this airdrop? But as far as like discovering them, one YouTuber in particular that's been doing this for years that I spoke to, that has had an amazing conviction in this ecosystem, and I think is going to be paying people to hold the ecosystem tokens in multiple airdrops to come. That's Cosmos. And a lot of people, because they were staking Cosmos or Atom, got the Celestia airdrop and many more as well from that. So his name is CryptoCito. He's a great YouTuber, been doing this for many years, specifically in the Cosmos ecosystem. So that's like really his niche, and has got like a very good understanding and knows exactly what to be looking at and prioritizing. Cool. So I would say definitely follow people that have been vetted or that have a good credentials and see what they're airdrop farming, and then see how you can also maximize this through a strategy. Like how I was saying, the Manta airdrop, you could have been doing a looping sort of technique where you would compound your capital, and that would increase the amount of airdrops you would get from that.
Talk about the risks of this stuff. So we're talking about massive rewards. Sounds like, a couple $100 on the right platform can be a 5-figure airdrop at times, or at least a 4-figure airdrop, or a couple $1,000. What about the risks of kind of jumping on some of these newer, mm, you know, projects? Can people lose all their capital? Like, let's talk about the risks there, so people know and understand it.
Definitely. So I would definitely look at the project and see how long they have had a sort of track record, either the team behind it, or maybe they had another project before that. See what the track record is. For example, Blast, which is the second project of a team that created Blur, which is the largest NFT platform right now. And they had a track record. They had a huge airdrop that was very successful, and actually multiple airdrops for the Blur platform. And it was very successful. So that track record really helped them in the momentum that they received with their deployment of their layer 2, or what eventually will be their layer 2. So that definitely, is something you want to be looking at as far as like, where am I trusting allocating my money? That's very important. So look at the track record, look at the team behind it, and also look at the tech. I would say that bridges are one of the biggest sources of exploits. So you have to be very careful. I would say limit your allowances on your spends. So whenever you're confirming your transactions, you can allow the amount that you're spending. So I would limit that to whatever you feel comfortable losing, because ultimately this should be money that you consider to be lost, or definitely has a very high chance of getting lost. That's why I say that if you're going to be airdrop farming, do so on, if you're going to be using more capital, do so on the most reputable platforms, yes, such as like, I would think at this point, Manta, Blast, even though they don't have any sort of product, this is a team that has been well funded and has a track record, and I think has some stakes to, something at stake for them. So that's what I take in consideration. Nothing's foolproof. You could have every single box checked as far as what you're wanting to see as a green flag on a project, and something could still go wrong. That's just the name of the game that we're in. Nothing in crypto is safe. Nothing is safe. So ultimately, you have to feel comfortable with the money that you are putting in, with the possibility of losing it. But I would say that you drastically minimize those chances by just checking off a couple of boxes, such as, does the team have a good track record? Is the technology somewhat vetted? Such as these L2s that are using the OP stack to launch their own L2, such as how Base did. This is very well, I think, vetted technology. There are already hundreds of millions of dollars that had been deployed previously on this technology, and it's just getting redeployed. But the team behind it is different. So those are sort of the things that I'm looking for. The technology has a Lindy, and it will, it's not super experimental where I don't know what hidden risks are behind the tech. I want to have some kind of confidence that this technology has been under some type of hostile environment, and it's gone through this sort of it's gone through this sort of attacks, and it's withstood them. So those aspects of a project are really worth considering whenever you're putting in your capital and trying to see like what airdrops you can farm out of that.
I love it. As you're talking, I'm just getting excited to double down on it. I always play with new protocols, and I'm always pleasantly surprised if I do get an airdrop, but I never see it as I'm going to do all this stuff to get an airdrop. I'm like, I want to explore this new protocol and learn the ins and outs of it. And I actually enjoy bridging onto it and playing with it and trying to figure it out. And if I get something, I get something. And if I don't, I feel like I learned, which maybe is just focused more on the process than the outcome. Um, but you're kind of getting me excited to like actually systemize this and like once a week have devoted time to actually maybe take more advantage of the opportunities in this stuff. But why do you think people aren't utilizing this or jumping on it as much as maybe they should? Like, what holds people back?
I think it's the unknowns that people just don't really know about it. They think it might be too good to be true. I've been
Kind of
getting
does sound too good to be
airdrops.
true. A lot of crypto does when you talk to like the average investor, they're just like, that's too good to be true. Like, what do you mean 60% a year on that? Like, that's impossible, too good to be true, because they're stuck in the old paradigm of 12% returns a year would be considered good. Um, so yeah, I can see that. It does sound pretty
Yeah,
good.
it is extremely good. And I think this is an opportunity worth, taking, and it might not be here for too long. A lot of people are saying that this might be the real last bull run that we as
Yeah.
retail have to really make considerable gains to the way that we have been. And that's the allure of what has had within crypto. You are seeking these gains, and um, sometimes people think it's way too good to be true, but people, I think, it's just the fear of not knowing, I guess.
Yeah.
I know back in the early DeFi days, I thought it was way too good to be true.
Yeah.
I was going to claim my Uniswap airdrop, and that was the first time I really got one of these types of airdrops.
When
And
was
I
that?
thought,
When was the
like,
Uniswap
wow,
airdrop?
this is
What year would that have been?
early 2020, I think,
2020. Got
or
it.
late 2020, somewhere
Got it.
around there. But I thought it was way too good to be true. I was like, no way they're
Yeah.
giving out, thousands of dollars just because I did a couple of swaps or did, provided some LP. And ultimately it was true. And ever since then, I've been airdrop farming. So
Got it.
I know that it's not too good to be true. And whenever people say that, that's an amazing opportunity for me because people are underrating this. So I'm just going to take
Got
advantage
it.
of it. So
That's a good way to
eventually,
look at
when
it.
people, I guess, when people actually start to tune in and actually realize what's going on here, the opportunity is at that point saturated, and it's going to be a lot harder to get the sort of returns that we're talking about today.
Great.
So I know it's been going on since 2020. We're here in 2024. So, going on 4 years now. But there is opportunity here still, amazing opportunity. I don't know after this bull run though. I know during this cycle, it's going to continue like this. This is definitely the meta for marketing. You have to have an airdrop. If you're not doing an airdrop in 2024, a lot of people are not even going to look at your project anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that we will see this during this bull run, but after that, a lot of things could change. I really don't want to predict the future after this bull run. Predicting this bull run is probably hard enough considering like what we're doing here. It's very hard to predict
It's been a
prices,
wild ride.
and yeah, we would have known the things that would have happened between now and that Uniswap airdrop, and
Right.
me trying to make predictions from
Yeah,
here
it's
till then.
impossible.
So I think that making a prediction within this bull run, I feel pretty confident about doing. I've made several, and I've been right most of the time, but nothing's guaranteed. So making a prediction that far out, who knows what happens. I just think from what I've been seeing that the return will be diminished. To what degree, who knows, but we'll ultimately find out.
I agree. I agree. I think you said the word early on, positioning, which is one of my favorite words. I was 28 starting another business, and I met with a 19-year-old who he was financially free. Like he had tens of millions of dollars and he was just like chilling, starting his next thing. He's 19. I'm 28. So I'm like, hey. And I had a fraction of that. I had like 500 grand or something, and I worked really hard for it. And I was asking him, like, what do you know that I don't? And he said the word positioning to me. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I saw that in 2 years, social media agencies would be blowing up. And so I just started it early. And when social media agencies blew up, I was this young kid first on the block. And obviously, I had all the biggest accounts for all the biggest celebrities and names, and I made millions of dollars. And I didn't work that hard for it, and I'm not even that smart. And I was like, positioning. How do you get ahead of the curve and not chase the curve? Because I spent my life chasing the curve. So I love that word. I get all excited of just like, you don't even have to be that good. Just how do you get in a little early, and how do you position yourself early? And even if your portfolio is not set up perfect and you don't make the perfect trades and you're not in the perfect airdrops, you're still going to make money if you're just positioned. Um, and at that point, you could optimize for a little extra, but there's diminishing returns on that anyway. So I love the word positioning. I get goosebumps because that thing changed my life.
Yeah, I think that's a great word. Very simple.
Yeah.
I always say if you're not early, you're late. And in I think crypto, it's one of the places where you can be the earliest. With
Yeah.
TradFi, traditional markets, by the time something IPOs, there have been
Yeah.
a million and one investors before you. So
That's where
who's
Wall
really
Street
going to
makes
come
most of
in
the
and
money. I didn't know that, but pre-IPO is kind of where most of the early birds get in. Then they go public and cash
yeah,
out, and everyone else gets the leftovers of the public traded company. Um, and I,
pretty
I was
much.
watching a documentary a few days ago, just a little YouTube documentary about like literally the first very rare time in history where so many people got in before the big bucks did and the big dollars did, and that is just kind of like this big fu and a big win for me. I just get excited by that.
Yeah, it definitely opens the door for everybody now. Crypto does not have these barriers to entry like the traditional markets have. So
Mm-hmm.
you really have the best opportunities, and the playing field is very leveled here. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely insiders, and there's a lot of I like information gaps. But I think being in crypto, just anybody in this market has an amazing advantage over something that is already kind of set up in the traditional finance system where the disadvantages are already in place and not in your favor. So at the very minimum, you have in crypto where you can pick and choose where you want to position and where you don't want to position. And you can find where there is a level playing field. Now, there are definitely places in crypto where there are not level playing fields, where there's a lot of insider information, a lot of dumping going on the latecomers. But there's always a place in this in crypto where you can find a level playing field and you can actually get an edge and make a lot more money in this space.
So good. And maybe I'll add for anyone listening is like whatever you're into. I love how we have a few gamers in our community. And I don't know too much about games. I've played Grand Theft Auto once or twice, and that's about it. Like I don't really understand gaming and game culture. They do, and they're constantly getting in early on wicked projects that because they know the culture, and so that's their lane, and that's their playing field, and that's what they stay in, and they keep making awesome gains because they know which game is going to take off or not. And that whole thing inspires the crap out of me. Of like, imagine having games. Well, it's already there where the hours you put in, you're actually monetized for it. Like you get paid for it, and you can sell your assets that you build in the game to other players, and even cross game and stuff. So if that's your lane, double down on it. If you've got some other lanes, double down on that. I think there's so much room in crypto, and we're so freaking early with the technology or the adoption of it, which it inspires the crap out of me too.
Yeah, we are so early still. Even though I say that this will probably be the last cycle that we really have to make considerable gains, I'm probably uh, being a little bit exaggerated with that. I just think that we are so early with this technology, and there's still so much innovation to happen that we
So
still
much.
don't know what's to come out of this.
Yeah. Yeah, so much. So just to sum things up, and I got one more question for you. Kind of from everything you said, it just sounds like get involved. So literally follow people who are in the space, vet them, get involved in these projects, and just spend a little time. I don't know how someone listening can systemize this. I do see if you can run crypto and DeFi like a business and really start thinking of it like a business, like you're not sloppy, you're taking this seriously. So you have your 2 hours set on a Friday to, go through do your stuff. I think those people do pretty well. So get involved, try stuff out. You use the word position, which I'm a really big fan of. Position yourself early in this stuff. And remember, there's always big risks in crypto, no matter what you're doing. So um, stick to bigger trusted platforms that have a solid team with a good background so you don't get rugged, or the technology stood up, it's battle tested technology, so to speak, and battle tested teams. And understand if you're getting into stuff that's a little more less known or newer, you could wake up tomorrow and there goes your money. And then you also said bridges have some of the biggest exploits, so ensure that you're not just clicking the
Max allowing.
max button, like just only
Yeah.
what you're willing to lose, which is overdone advice that no one listens to because everyone says it, but it's true.
Yeah, a lot of people, just don't take the warning, but that's really just the best advice you can give.
Yeah, I challenged that a little while ago because I was like, man, everything in my life I was always willing to lose, and it's like I was always willing to swing the bat, and I kind of started questioning that advice. I was like, like everything. I always had to play the risk reward and be like, I could lose and I could lose everything. Eff it, let's do it. And when it works out big. When it doesn't, it sucks. And so I was kind of like questioning that advice. I think it's good advice, but it can also be like lead people to doing absolutely nothing. At some point, I think you just have to swing the bat and go for it.
Yeah, that's also
Depending,
true.
don't,
I would
yeah,
say like your risk tolerance, make sure you're at least doing something. It can't just be all watching videos or scrolling through Twitter or reading. Actually take the time to do something, even if it is very low risk. Be active. I would
yeah,
say that's
play with
probably the
it.
best advice to have is be active and limit whatever losses that you are exposed to there.
So good, so good. And then I want to make it easy for everyone listening. What are you looking at? Like if someone off this is going to go click around and look at a few things and maybe try out a few protocols or whatnot. What's maybe one or two things you're looking at? I know you mentioned Manta, um, Blast, Cosmos. Anything that people could click around on and play with that you're kind of excited by?
Another one I've been interested in that is very similar to Celestia, which has done a lot of airdrops. They've also hinted that they'll do their own airdrop, but I think that this space is going to really grow from here. The modular ecosystem, such as the TIA airdrop that we saw. There's another one from the Polygon team. It's called a Veil. They have their test net right now.
Okay.
So I think that that's also very low risk and high reward doing
Mm-hmm.
these test nets that have a lot of funding behind them. Another one I've seen recently that a lot of people have been going into and have been saying that they might do an airdrop for. It's called BitVM, which is a layer 2 for Bitcoin. And I think the Bitcoin narrative is going to be extremely strong in 2024. And anything that can have some sort of play in this, such as the BitVM, I think could have a lot of potential.
And that's BitVN.
Yeah, BitVM.
So cool. I think people are gonna enjoy that.
Those are
Still
two
good.
test nets and really no capital expenditure, just some time and,
Play with it. That's right.
learning, what to do. That's it.
Risk reward is in your favor.
Definitely.
So good. Thank you for your time. And I know you're dealing with migraines and headaches, and yet I think there was just such a deep level of value here. I hope people take it seriously and click around on some of the things you mentioned.
Yeah, it's been fun talking to you and good to dig into this deeper. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.